Do you know that feeling? Where your planners open, your goals are set. You're actually looking forward to achieving your goals and making progress and getting after it. But then Tuesday night happens. The kids are screaming, they're upset, dinner is doing something, inbox is overflowing, you're exhausted, and that feeling that you had of motivation and drive, it's gone. Well, so most people stop there. They wait for that spark to come back. They wait until they feel like, pushing forward and achieving their goals and getting after it again. But while they wait, they're drifting. See, they're letting the temporary mood dictate their permanent legacy. But here's the hard truth. Motivation is a fair weather friend. It's a lie. Not because it isn't real, but because it isn't stable. It's not a stable foundation to build a life on. If you want to reach that summit, you need more than hype. Well, welcome to our new series, Beyond Motivation. Over the next few episodes, we're stopping the search for the spark, and instead, we're working on a real system. We're going to be talking about, why feelings are liars, how to build that floor that protects your progress on your worst days, how to treat your promise that you made yourself with the same professional integrity as the words you give your boss. No matter how you feel today, no matter how much is on your plate, no matter how long you've been drifting, you choose how you show up. It's time to move beyond the mood. It's time to build that engine, that system. It's time to claim your day. Join me and let's climb together. This is the Claim Your Day podcast. I'm your host, Nick Mazie. If you're tired of drifting and you're ready to start living intentionally according to your values, you're in the right place, my friend. We're here to help you lead with excellence at home, at work, and in your community so you can live with significance. Let's bridge the gap between who you are today and who you are called to be. Now is the time for you to claim your day. Have you been there before, my friend? You have your goals mapped out. You even have a daily plan. You know what you're going to do. You're fired up. You can see that vision for the improvement for your life and living out your values, and you're ready for it. But then Tuesday night happens. The kids are melting down. You're having some family challenges. The inbox is a disaster. Your to-do list has spilled off into multiple pages. And that ready to conquer the world feeling is gone. You just don't feel like that intentional, focused professional. You feel like you're just surviving, and maybe barely even that. Well, you're not alone, my friend. And that's why I want to welcome you to episode 84 of the Claim Your Day podcast, where we're starting the new series right here on Beyond Motivation. Because the truth is, motivation is a fair weather friend at best, and oftentimes it can actually just be a liar. It is a motivation, or it's an emotional spark, and it can give you that jump to moving forward, which is good. But if you're only going to move forward towards your goals when you're in the mood, you've essentially handed the keys to your legacy over to a temporary feeling, something that's not consistent. Today we're going to be exposing that motivational trap, and learning how to build a life that moves forward and moves on purpose, that is intentional, even when that mood disappears. Because that's what we want. We want that consistent progress toward our goals. We want to live according to our values, regardless of how the feeling of the day is going. So just a few simple points for this. But I do want to say, before we dive in too much, make sure you subscribe, because the rest of the series, we're going to really move forward in how to move forward, regardless on how that feeling is. So you don't want to miss any of that coming up. So, like I said, the first point really is that, this motivation, it's a lie. Well, how is it a lie? So what's the anatomy of it? What makes it up? Well, because it's basically looking at it like this. It's a feeling versus a function. Feeling versus function. Motivation, it's a state of mind. It's that feeling. But discipline, that consistency of doing what you know you need to do regardless, and doing what's required, the commitment you've made to yourself. See, that's a state of being. Relying on that motivation to regain control of your life, it's like building that house on sand. And that foundation is not good. It's not consistent. It's not going to be able to hold up over time. The motivation's a lie, because think about it like this. Think about a spark versus wood. If you're trying to make a fire, yeah, you need a little spark is good. That motivation can be that spark that starts things. But that discipline keeps it going. Well, if all you're doing is relying on that motivation for that spark, well, it's going to burn out real quickly. It doesn't have anything to keep it going. And you're not going to be able to reach the summit of that worthwhile climb. If you remember that series we did just a little bit ago, you're not going to be able to reach that summit, that worthwhile climb towards your goals and that life that's important to you, on sparks alone. Even if you generate a lot of sparks, you need that wood, you need that discipline to fulfill that commitment, to keep going, to make it a reality. That's the motivation. It's a dangerous lie. The second point is it's all about this action and inspiration loop. Now, this is something really neat. See, most people wait for that feeling of being inspired before they act. And this is completely backwards. They have this all in reverse. So they wait for that feeling to get going and to take action. But the truth is that action really causes that motivation. See, motivation shows up after you do. See, it's not just the effect. I experience this all the time. Like all the time. Most weekdays, I go to the gym for a quick lunch break. Most days, so the majority of the days, I go to the gym for a quick, I'm talking like 10, 15, 20 minutes. Actually, let me go ahead and take that 20 minutes off. 99% of the time, it's right at 15 minutes max. So I'm almost every day of the week I go. And almost every day that I go, I don't want to go before I go. Like, I'm not feeling it. That drive, that motivation's there, or is not there, but I've made that commitment. So I'm going to do it. And let me go ahead and tell you, almost every single day that I show up, when I get there, I still don't feel like it. But then as soon as I start moving, and I have a little routine, I get some exercise, and my blood's flowing, I'm feeling good, boom, before you know it, every single time that I'm leaving, I am so glad that I went there, and I had a good time, and I enjoyed it, and I feel better. That motivation's there after I showed up. Look, here's for this little action inspiration loop we got going on. There's a 5-minute momentum builder. See, momentum creates the mood. See, we don't need to wait for the engine to warm up before we drive. No, instead, the act of driving warms up the engine. Think about it like that. The act of driving warms up the engine. So if you want the motivation, if you want that inspiration, take action. Take it for a few minutes. Like 5 minutes is perfect. By the time you're a few minutes into it, motivation's gonna, and that feeling and that inspiration, that might be coming back, and you're warming up the engine that's going to drive you to the success and the achievement that you want, to that significance. But you got to take action first. Like I said, most people have this backwards. They wait for that feeling and that inspiration before they act, and they sit on the couch. But look, my friend, motivation ain't going to hit you on the couch. Motivation's going to follow you after you get started, after you start making moves, after you take action. Once you get warmed up, then that engine's warmed up, and then that motivation will follow you. Sound good? Make sure you're using that action inspiration loop in the right way, and don't have it backwards like everybody else. So that's the second point. The third point I have for you today, it's all about the law of consistency. Look, John Maxwell teaches, that discipline is the bridge between your goals and accomplishments. Discipline is what's going to get you. It's that sometimes boring, but that consistency of your daily work that's going to lead to the results that you want. It's that consistency of your daily work, the things that nobody sees, that really allows you to live out your values. It's not when people are watching. It's not the glamorous stuff. It's that consistent discipline over time. It's those small steps, not those large leaps. It's those small steps that are going to take you further and to a greater distance than those large leaps that everyone might see. It's the small, consistent steps, my friend. And you have to be that consistent, because remember a while back when we talked about the law of the lid? See, your leadership lid, your growth is tied, or if your growth is tied to your mood, then you've placed a lid on your potential. My friend, You don't want a lid on your potential. If it's tied to your mood, then some days, hey, you might have more potential. You might have less if the mood goes a different way. Throughout the day, it's going to go up and down if it's all based on your mood and your feeling. That's not the way to live. You wouldn't be able to rely on what you could do. You would have to shortchange your goals. You'd have to say, hey, I'm not going to be pursuing my potential and living on purpose because I don't feel like it today. No. If you're okay with that, then this podcast isn't for you. Here we want to live out our values. We want to live on purpose. We want to stop drifting. We want to lead our lives and have that clarity to be on the path with purpose and impact and significance, regardless of how we feel in this day today. Now, with enough of that consistency, you'll maintain the feeling because you'll see how good it is, how worth it is, what it's like to do that worthwhile climb. But seriously, my friend, don't tie your potential to your mood. You've got to raise that lid on the good days and the challenging days. And to raise that lid, you've got to separate your actions from your emotions. You can't have your actions rely on how you're feeling because the feeling's not going to be there every day. So what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do? Are you waiting for a sign or a feeling to start your daily habits? All right. Identify where you've stalled, where your progress has stalled because you're waiting for inspiration. Identify one area where you think you have stalled, where you feel stagnant. And it's like you're waiting for that spark, that inspiration, that motivation, that feeling to get you going. Where's that one area where you've stalled? Now, in that area, commit to a 5-minute jump start today. Just a 5-minute jump start. Pick one task that you've been avoiding doing and you don't feel like doing, and do it for 5 minutes. Just set a timer. Look, I love my watch. I use timers on my watch all the time. It is you don't have to have the same watch as me. In fact, you can use just an old Timex watch. It really does not matter. But you can set a 5-minute timer and get after it for 5 minutes. Something's going to happen. You're going to get a little bit of that feeling and you're going to start to get some of that motivation, that inspiration once you start going for 5 minutes. Or you're just going to make some progress that you've been putting off. So either way, it's a home run, right? So find that area where you've stalled, you got a little stagnant, you haven't been making the progress that you want, and commit to 5-minute jump start today and pick that task you've been avoiding because you don't feel like doing it and just knock it out. Get after it for 5 minutes. Worst case scenario, my friend, it's just 5 minutes. And watch how you're going to be able to prove to yourself that you don't need that feeling, that you can make the progress, that you can do it anyways. All right. Look, the summit doesn't care if you were pumped up and energized and motivated, inspired the whole way during the climb. The summit doesn't care about that. It just cares that you kept moving. So stop waiting for the spark. Start that engine. Get warmed up and get going, my friend. You can do this. Look, if you feel like you've been drifting a little bit, maybe stuck in the unfulfilling busyness of just keeping up, and not really living on purpose for the impact and significance that you want, then I want you to go to nickmazey.com/drifting. There, I'm putting together some information and would love to hear your input on it, as well as to see if it's a fit to help you to develop the clarity to live on purpose for impact and significance. Go to nickmazey.com/drifting. Let's find out more and have a conversation there. That's all I have for this episode. Thank you for joining in. Don't rely on motivation. Develop the engine and the system to keep moving towards your goals for your values, no matter how the feeling is. All right. Thank you for listening. Take care, and can't wait to talk to you in the next episode where we continue this Beyond Motivation series.